Hurts, I tell you.
Hurts like Jalen.
I hope that gets recorded.
It's live, Alex.
You're listening to the Good Old Boys Fantasy Football Podcast. Now here's your hosts, Kevin, Derek, and Alex.
Alrighty, welcome in, ladies and gentlemen, to another episode of the Good Old Boys Fantasy Football Podcast. I am Derek, and I'm joined, as always, by your co-hosts, Kevin and Alex. Guys, how are we doing tonight?
Amazing.
That's right.
We'll get to you, Robbie.
Doing good, man. We are T-minus, 8.5 days away, 9 days away from the NFL draft. Getting excited for that, running through a whole bunch of different mocks and dynasty startups or just, messing around with different formats, kind of seeing how things are going. News is a little slow this week, which is a good thing. I know most people don't like to hear that, but it's a good thing. It means these draftable, eligible players, these eligible drafting players, if you will, they're not doing things that are going to cause their draft stock to dip down, which makes it much cleaner from a draft process. So I like it. I like to see it. They got to hold on tight for a couple more days, and we're here, guys.
Really?
Hell yeah.
Did you add bass to the intro music, or have I just never heard that bass before? That was a good bass line going there.
I know a person. They got some stuff done.
Very good. I'm good. I appreciate you guys holding down the fort while I was a little under the weather last week. I lost my voice, and I don't think it would have been more uncomfortable for people to have listened to me than it would have been for me to try to fight my way through an episode last week. So I appreciate it. The voice is coming back. The dulcet tones are returning, and we will get through this episode. I was a little bummed because I would consider myself, I guess, to be kind of the resident Vikings expert, having covered that team for the last 5-6 years. But I'm sure you guys were kind to them and had many nice things to say about Kirk Cousins' quarterbacking abilities. But
I was going to ask you how he did, but obviously you didn't listen to it.
I did. I'm a busy man, okay? I'll go back and listen. I actually do normally go back and listen to the ones I miss, just so I can stay up on it. But this one just it didn't happen. But I will say that I am enjoying that we are getting closer to the draft because then we can stop talking about it, because it's starting to get to that point where it is a little mind numbing just hearing all of the unknowns that are coming out, and the differences in reports from literally minute to minute about what the teams that are in those high draft picks might do. Obviously, I think we know 1 and 2 are spoken for, but 3 through 32 sounds like it could be a crapshoot. So I'm excited for that to finally happen.
Right. Well, guys, we are joined by a very special guest tonight. We've got Robbie J from the Rumboyz back in the house. It's been a little while since Robbie was with us last on this show, but always one of our favorite guests to have on here. Robbie, how you been?
Man, I've been good, bro. I've been good. Like you guys said, I'm excited for the draft. We're only a couple of days away, so this is what we all prep for, and we all write articles and condition for, and it's an exciting time. Get all these Twitter reactions. I'm just ready to get rid of all of the speculation. I'm ready for that to finally end, and I'm ready to also see people cry their hearts out.
There you go.
Yeah,
it should be a lot of fun and very interesting to see how that all comes to play out there.
Do we think that the Jets fans will still boo Zach Wilson at number 2 because that's what Jets fans do? They just boo relentlessly every draft pick they've ever made. Is there odds on that? There's got to be odds on that.
It's just customary tradition. Yeah. Like maybe if they actually,
there will be people, right?
Cheer on. There's going to be
some people there.
Yeah, I think they said it's going to be like select in attendance.
And so we won't get the full
So yeah,
experience.
like I think they like had like a predetermined list of like season ticket holders.
There we go. Well, Robbie, it's like we said, it's been about a year since we've had you on here, and a year's a long time there. But I think we had you on talking about the Browns last year. We're going to talk about your favorite team here, the Washington football team, a little bit later on in this episode. But what have you been up to since the last time we had you on?
I mean, really just scaling the hell out of the Rumboyz, and also marketing, chief marketing officer for the SportsMe app. You guys, should definitely download the SportsMe app. Hop on the SportsMe app if you guys have not already. New features and new things coming here within the next couple of weeks to the app. So get ready for that. But I mean, that's really just what I've been up to, is growing the company, finding new ways to provide entertaining fantasy content to the viewing public. And yeah, man, it's a blast. It's a roller coaster over at the network, and I enjoy what we're doing over at Rumboyz.
That's awesome.
Hey, I know Derek's real into that SportsMe app. Can you kind of explain what it is for people who maybe don't know?
Yeah, so the SportsMe app, if you guys like remember like Vine, or hell, everyone knows TikTok, it's just short form content, except it's debatable content. So Derek could start a battle. Kyle Pitts is going to be a bust. All right. And then he just starts a battle, and boom, I could go in right below, and I could, chime in, explain my reasoning for why I think the opposite. Or even I can agree with him, and then, it just starts. It just keeps going. And next thing you know, you have like 30, 40 people underneath, your one post, and you guys are all just exchanging opinions. It's a blast. Once you're addicted, you're addicted.
It's super fun. So I'm going to be honest, I haven't gotten on and posted anything yet, but I do get on and just watch all these battles. And it is like TikTok, like people who watch these short social media videos or anything like that. You just find yourself down the rabbit hole, man. You just watch the next one and say, all right, what's this guy got to say? What's this guy got to say? It's like, oh, this rating's better. What was so hot here? Like, and it's all sorts of different takes, opinions over all sorts of different subject matters, right? Like, it's not just football that's on there. You have MMA, you have basketball, you have baseball. I think there's some hockey on there. I think one night I saw some golf on there around the Masters. Like, it's pretty cool. So there's a little something for everybody. It's not niched into one sport, which I think is really cool, because you guys are able to cast a wide net that way. But I like what the app's doing. It's super fun. It's, like I said, it's super addicting. The content's really fun. So, kudos to you guys, and it's very, very much worth my entertainment time.
Greatly appreciate it. That means we're doing something right. Fuck yeah.
So I guess in the past year, right, as the Rumboyz enterprise continues to grow and develop and kind of morph into, the next big thing and staying the latest and greatest, like, what are you most proud of? Like, that you guys have accomplished so much. Like, what are you pounding your chest on and go, yeah, that was us?
I pride myself on the fact that, like, during the pandemic, while like a lot of people were, quitting, or doing whatever, they're like, I'm just not going to do content for this year. Like, I don't even know if there's going to be a season. We stayed true. We stayed true. We still found innovative ways to make content. So that was something I was proud. I was proud of. And just our ability to keep growing. Like, I'm at a point now where I'm not going out and asking people like, hey, you want to join the Rumboyz Fantasy Network? Like, people are like, dude, I really want to be a part of it. Like, how can I help? Like what can I do? So I'm excited about that. I'll go ahead and I'll release it here. The very first fantasy football movie is coming. So Canton, Ohio, look out. We'll be at the Fantasy Football Expo, and during that weekend, we'll be, kind of getting ready, getting like a 20 to 25 minute, kind of feature film Like we're talking credits in the whole 9 yards. We're talking like The Hangover plus Jackass meets the league, meets the real world. Cause there's even going to be like, a little confessional room where like people can like drop their takes of like during like the draft. So I'm proud of everything that we're doing. We're super innovative, and we're always trying to do things that other people aren't doing. We're always trying to play 5 steps ahead. I think you're muted, Derek.
One. That's one.
That's
So,
one.
You know what? Here's a little viewer engagement there, because we always seem to have an issue with the mutes and the mics and everything else. So let's just see everybody that's watching out there put the over under on how many times we're going to talk while the mic's muted. So I've got a total of 3 tonight. Just throwing that one out there.
3.
So
got to make it like an odd number, like a 0.5
okay,
or something.
2.5.
There you go.
2.5.
There we go, 2.5.
I'll take the under because we're making such a huge deal out of it. We're going to be uber cautious about it.
I'm going to take the over because I can sabotage it and win myself.
Hey, no.
I'm gonna take the under and say we'll coast smoothly the whole show.
Okay, it's probably going to be Kevin and I that sets this thing off and over. Alex is usually pretty good about his mic, so it'll be fun and interesting there. Robbie, one of the things before we kind of move on, you were talking about some of the new features coming to SportsMe. Is there anything that you can reveal to us on some of the stuff coming out, or is that still under wraps?
Well, the first thing that I can reveal is that community moderation will be coming. So we're going to be making it to where some of the people that are more like trolley personalities, they'll have like their section of SportsMe, and then those of us that are like us or like super analytical, we're like, no, let's just talk sports. Like, let's just be for real. Let's be serious. Like, we'll kind of have our own section, and then it'll also be moving to invite only very very shortly. So that's also why if you guys want to get in on a damn thing now. Okay, don't wait 4 months down the line where you're like, oh man, look at this new app. Oh, it's blowing up, and don't do that. Don't be that person. Don't get caught with your pants down. So get in now.
Awesome. Well, Robbie, one thing too, how can the listeners connect with you through the socials, and where can they find you at online?
I am on the Twitters at Rumboyz Robbie. Who knows? Maybe one day I get my old account back. But Rumboyz spelled with a Z, Net. Everywhere else you can find me: TikTok, SportsMe, freaking what else is out there? Instagram, Facebook, all that good stuff. Yeah, check us out everywhere. I answer to everything. My DMs are always open. If you got a fantasy football question, whether it's Dynasty, IDP, redraft, I don't care. Single QB, Superflex, I got your back. I'm gonna help you out. And yeah, I mean, Google us. Rumboyz spelled with a Z. I'm the only thing that pops up.
Awesome. Well, I'm sure we'll have some SportsMe battles coming from this episode as well. I'm sure we'll post some of those, some of the takes from here onto that over the next couple of days. So if you're out there listening, make sure you're downloading the app and, join us battling some of these takes out over there. It'll be a lot of fun. Let's go ahead and move on over into the news. And a few things happening around the league, like Kevin already mentioned, a little bit of a slow news week, which is not a bad thing, but Alex Smith is retiring and hanging it up. Bryce Love was waived by the Washington football team. Derrick Henry is working on being a pass-catching running back now. The Browns have released Sheldon Richardson. The Falcons released Ito Smith. And the Cleveland Browns have signed Jadeveon Clowney. Any thoughts on the news?
First off, let's give a really, really giant congratulations to Alex Smith, because career was it could have been so bad for a number 1 overall pick. It is wrought with expectations, and for him to endure what he endured even before the injury. I mean, he got replaced in San Francisco, handled it like a pro. He got replaced in Kansas City, handled it like a pro. He suffered one of the most horrific leg injuries, just injuries in general that you are ever going to see. And to to this day, I would refuse to watch it because it is just I can't do it. But for him to come back last year and get back on the field, it was one thing for him to walk again and be a person away from football, but for him to get back on the football field and play again, Alex Smith is a guy that should go down. He's not a Hall of Famer.
He's not.
That's not what he is. But he should be a guy that a lot of these NFL quarterbacks, especially the ones that are coming out this year, should strive to have a career like Alex Smith. And it maybe not so much what he did on the field, but certainly how he carried himself throughout his entire career. Just a huge congratulations to what he did, what he means to the sport now, and kind of what he means for an inspiration for a lot of people who go through tough times and get back out there.
Hell yeah. I'll agree. Might as well just rename the Comeback Player of the Year award into the Alex Smith Award. He did what. Now I will say this. I mean, technology is significantly different than what it was when Joe Theismann had this exact same injury on the exact same day that Alex Smith had gotten his. So to be able to come back from that when, the last one of the last great quarterbacks to lead us to a Super Bowl, or get us to very far throughout the playoffs, wasn't able to do when you come back. And then, I mean, the record is the record. I mean, the record would have been better had we been more stable at the quarterback position throughout the season. But I mean, the fact that he came back from that injury and still led that team to the playoffs. As a fan, I'm proud of him. And as for Bryce, hey, goodbye, bro.
Yeah, man, it's hard to say anything else about Alex Smith that you guys haven't said already, but congratulations. I know Andy Reid has already come out and kind of touted his mental view of the game and how he processes information and help, I guess not formally, but all but extended a contract to him to come be a coach on his staff. Like he absolutely loved Alex Smith. So that's high praise coming from Andy Reid. You don't hear him give out that, that free compliment so often, if you will. So kudos to him. Robbie, you're absolutely right. Comeback Player Award should be the Alex Smith Award now. I'm pretty sure that's consensus, like across all the socials and everything. Like, how does the NFL not make this happen? Right? Like, it has been such an overwhelming thing, and there are so few things that, as a country, society, as just a group of four, right, just sitting here, that we can all agree on something without someone going, wait a minute, nah, everyone agrees on this. Like, holy crap, if nothing else.
Go on the SportsMe app. You'll find someone that they'll disagree with it.
No, I'm sure. So there you go, Derek. You can post that one up there and get some feedback there. But kudos to Alex Smith. As we kind of moving along with that, Bryce Love, it's a bummer, man. This kid had so much potential his junior year, and he's a symbol of why kids don't stay in college for upgrading draft stock or whatever, because unfortunately he did get dinged up, right? He tore his ACL. He hasn't been able to recover from that. And he was a second round grade coming out his junior year if he would have tested the waters, and then decided to come back, give it one more run. Poor guy had a down season, got hurt, and now the stories wrote. Like, it sucks, but that's the NFL. It's cruel. As far as the rest of the stuff, the Falcons releasing Ito Smith, not a huge surprise. I expect him to draft a running back. I expect him to use Mike Davis. They brought him in for a reason. Jadeveon Clowney joining the Browns. Him and Myles Garrett coming off the edges. Like, whoo, buddy.
That's going to be spicy, yeah.
That's going to be fun to watch. So, not a whole lot of news, but the stuff that did come out is impactful if you're really looking at it.
One thing that Derek, that we didn't mention was that the second pro day that one Trey Lance had up in Fargo, North Dakota, which was a very intriguing one because, if you would have asked me up until maybe earlier this week, which it is only Tuesday, but if you would have asked me, up until they had that pro day, who is San Francisco taking with that third pick? I would have been all in saying it's going to be Mac Jones. That's the reporting that's out there. That's the reporting that's out there. Schefter had it. Okay. I do not know Schefter to be a falsehood teller. So I would have said, yeah, they're going to go for Mac Jones there. But then you find out that San Francisco had a huge part in designing Trey Lance's second pro day. They sent John Lynch. They sent Kyle Shanahan. Obviously, there were other teams that were there as well that sent their top brass to get their eyes on him again. But now it's got me thinking. Now it's got me thinking that maybe San Francisco, and who knows, this could all be the giant smoke screen that San Francisco wants to put out there. You don't trade up to 3 unless you know who you're going to go get. And boy, maybe this is just a giant smoke screen because they want to see the utter chaos play out after they take whoever they take.
And we have seen teams do this plenty of times. Like Washington, for example, is notorious for doing this. I as a Washington football team fan get frustrated when we do shit like this. But it's going to happen. I could see it. It makes you relevant, like especially in this social media day and age. It keeps you relevant. It keeps people talking. It gives people something to talk about. And then when it's like, oh, okay, well, it's not Mac Jones. It's like, hey, everyone gets a sigh of relief, and it's like, all right, well, told you guys, told you so. So I could see them utilizing this as a smoke screen. I could see them utilizing this to throw everybody else off because this is a strategy through and through.
I will add the only other real pro day that I paid super attention to was Carson Wentz, and the only team that sent their head coach up was the Cleveland Browns. Again, Cleveland was picking 2. The consensus was Goff was going to go 1, and then Cleveland was picking at 2. So were they going to take Carson Wentz? Well, Philadelphia comes at them with a deal they can't resist to set up Hugh Jackson for failure, and then go on to draft like 9 wide receivers with the picks that they got. So who knows? Who knows what you learned from going up there and evaluating and having a say in what he does. But it just, again, it's making me just wish that it was already April 29th and the first round of the draft would happen already, because it's starting to get to be a little bit much.
I agree with you. Like the amount of people that I have seen just I remember back in the day, back when I first started in the industry, it was like not okay to flip your take. It wasn't like really socially acceptable to flip your take. And now, I don't care. They'll still flip that take. It's Trevor Lawrence. No, it's Wilson. No, Justin Fields. Trey Lance. You know what? I don't know what I'm doing. We see that all the time. That's Twitter every day.
You're only as relevant as your last tweet or post. So
ain't that fucking true? Sorry.
Sorry, not sorry. Right? It is what it is, and you're right. We've stayed. Sometimes information comes about, right, that causes you to revisit something. But I'd agree, and that's something that I know we try and do here on the show is, you know what? If I'm going to call my shot, I'm going to stick to it. I'm not going to tell you it's one thing and then another thing. And, if I'm wrong, I'll do a quick touch and say, look, I messed up here. This is what happened.
Yeah.
It is what it is.
There's nothing wrong with utilizing information to make a decision, right? And if new information presents itself, use it.
And that's what you're
if it needs to influence your decision, you can do it. That's how you go through life.
Exactly.
Ain't no one batting 1,000 in this industry. And if they say they are, they're full of crap.
Amen.
Oh,
Amen. Hey, for all the listeners out there, little note, okay? We play the same damn fantasy game as y'all, all right? Don't be sitting back like coming at me. Well, you told me to start this week. Hey, the information that I had said it was gonna be a go. Who knew that the defense was gonna suddenly step up? All right, shit.
Exactly.
I know if that player was gonna tear their ACL. I didn't know that Saquon was gonna get hurt again.
oh.
Right? Truth. If nothing else, truth.
Oh. Alrighty. Well, let's
Player comparisons.
Yeah.
Yep,
Derek,
yep,
you got a
let's-
little game for us here. Let's see
I
how this
do.
thing shakes out.
So last week we ran that thing through, and y'all seemed to enjoy that when we did our blind player comparison.
Yeah, I really liked when you guys did that last week. That was good.
You know, Alex, you were spot on with your takes from your couch. I loved every one of them.
Yeah,
so
I was crushing it. Batting 1,000 last week.
You were. So we'll go ahead and do this. Now, the way that we're doing this one is going to be on some wide receivers. And the way that I've got this thing broken out is I've got some stats that a lot of folks like to tout and look at when we're looking at college players coming out, going into the NFL draft, that kind of stuff. So what I'll do is I'll name off some stats, name off some goodies there for you without the name. We'll go through all four of these wide receivers, and I want you to tell me who you're taking in the first round of a Dynasty rookie draft there. Say we're picking at like the 104, 105, somewhere right in that range to kind of give you guys a perspective on that. I want you to tell me which player you would take on that one. So player A, 6 feet tall, 201 pounds, runs a 4.39 40, averaged about 21.2 yards per reception in college, and his last season played had 84 receptions for 1,780 yards and 20 touchdowns. Player B, 6 feet tall, 208 pounds, runs a 4.35 40, averages a 20 per reception for college. Last season played was 35 receptions for 701 and 11 touchdowns. Player C, 5 feet 11 inches, 198, a 4.43 40, 19.5 yards per reception. Last season played was 59 receptions for 1,152 yards and 8 touchdowns. Player D, 6 feet tall, 205 pounds, a 4.31 40 with an average reception of 11.8 yards. Last season played 90 receptions, 1,063 yards, and 12 touchdowns. So, guys, based off of that, are you going A, B, C, or D?
I like player D, and not because it is the fastest 40 speed listed, but what I really like about it is volume. And sure, they didn't have touchdowns, but touchdowns can come from a number of different places. They had the second most touchdowns in the players that you listed off here. But I like the volume. 90 receptions, 1,000 yards. That to me is, that's a pretty solid comparison to the NFL game. If you can have a guy catch 90 for 1,000, that's a very, very good NFL season. 12 touchdowns. Again, that's another indication that he can find the end zone. But I like that at good size too. 6 foot, 205, screams to me that he can play a number of positions, and with that speed, he can get behind a defense. So I like player D.
Okay. Robbie, Kevin, what do you guys think here?
Player A is freaking mind blowing. Standing at 6 foot, 201, running a 4.39. The yards per reception is absolutely insane. 21.2 with 84 catches, 1,780 yards, 20 TDs. That is like some Devontae Adams type stuff. Now, I do want to keep in mind that this is college, and this player did that in college, and at the NFL, he's going to be playing against significantly better corners. So the level of competition has to be kept in mind. But with that being said, like I almost wanted player C, but I like player A. Just kind of gives me old school, line me up on the outside coach type of vibes, and I could play 1-on-1 against any corner, whereas player C gives me slot receiver type vibe. So I'm gonna go player A.
Okay, Kevin, who you got?
Well, since A and D are taken, I'm gonna go different route here. I'm gonna take player B. They have the least amount of receptions, but their yards per reception is second amongst this group, right? I'm looking at this and I'm seeing that this is a player who makes the most of their opportunities. Like I'm seeing a team that maybe doesn't throw the ball as much, so they're a more run-oriented team, but when they get the ball, they know how to do something with it. 11 touchdowns on 35 receptions, that's a really hard clip to keep up with. I'm not saying that that's truly, translated into the NFL game, but if they have enough grit to turn those 35 receptions into 11 touchdowns, that means they have some want to. They want to get the damn job done. And I can draft a guy like that, a guy that wants to get it done. And sight unseen, I like the fact that he's 208 already, put another, 10, 15 pounds on him, help get his NFL body kind of calloused up, little muscle build up there. As long as you're not sacrificing that 4.35 40 speed, like I like that too. So player B for me.
Okay. Now, before I reveal the names, I have one more question for you. If I was to tell you the schools that these players went to, would that enter into your evaluation here?
Well, yeah, because then we probably know who they are.
Yeah, but we would know who they are. So
I'm telling you, player A screams Ohio State.
You'd be wrong. Player A is LSU. Player B is Ohio State. Player C is LSU, and player D is Ohio State.
Player C is Terrace Marshall.
No, it's not.
Oh shit! All right, I'm ready now to know who it is.
Okay, so here we go. Player A is Jamar Chase.
Okay, yep, figured that.
Kevin, this one really surprised me that you went with B. Just knowing some of your takes on this player beforehand, but player B is Terry McLaurin. Player C is Odell Beckham Jr. and player D is Paris Campbell.
Yeah, I'm okay with Paris Campbell. Yeah, I'd be okay with Paris Campbell.
All right, a couple things here real quick.
I love that pick.
So sight unseen, the take on B was exactly right.
Yeah, it was.
F1 is exactly that guy, and that's okay. I'm also going to say that I still think Paris Campbell's better than Terry McLaurin, but he can't get past this damn injury bug. Yes, Robbie, I see you sitting there. Just chillax. He can't get past this damn injury bug, and Indianapolis is not using him the right way.
I know it's 420 and all, but damn.
That could all change. That could all change with the new quarterback coming in that likes to throw to shifty receivers, doesn't need a huge target. Phil last year Phil's Phil, right? Like you gotta that's what he does. So that could all change.
Awesome. So now knowing that these player names and looking back on it, do you guys still stand behind the blind comparison there?
Yes.
Yeah, I think it's really funny though that none of us picked OBJ.
That'd be the one I'd switch to. I'd switch off F1 and go to OBJ just because I have a special place in my heart for that guy. Like when he at his peak,
he has a special place in his heart for feces, but you don't see me running after him.
Hey. When he was at his peak in New York, I had him on a couple teams. So I got a soft spot for the guy. I want him to do well. The league's more fun when OBJ is relevant, but it is what it is. Hell, obviously, none of us could go wrong. Obviously Paris Campbell hasn't quite panned out the way we thought he would to this point, but I mean, Jamar Chase, we think is the real deal. F1's the clear number one in Washington. Like McLaurin has made that stake and really last year saw more consistent volume than I thought that he would. So that's improving. And OBJ has had his years as the top, wide receiver in football, let alone fantasy. And now he's kind of fallen off by the wayside, but it is what it is.
We did good on that blind comparison. We did really good. We're some great analysts.
Yeah, I liked it. I love the
Right,
takes
Robbie,
on
we
all that.
are.
Thanks.
So I always love kind of going through these things and just getting people's takes on these ones, just simply from the standpoint that, when you sit there and you're reading a Twitter thread or you're reading somebody's article or you're hearing a take on that one, there's more to it than just the stats. There's more to it than just a lot of these things. So, that's kind of my PSA, so to speak, going into, Dynasty rookie draft season here. Do a little bit more homework than just that surface. Really understand how a team is going to utilize a player, how he was used in college, and how that can translate to help you win some Dynasty and win some fantasy football there.
And one more thing, really quick about F1. For you guys out there, especially in Dynasty format, understand that he's now going to have longevity increased on his career because he's now getting help at that position. Curtis Samuel's now gonna get some targets. Scary Terry's still gonna do what he does with the rock in his hands. So don't you worry your little heart about that. Okay, like, oh well, he's not gonna get as many targets. He's still gonna do work when he gets the rock. But now you're gonna be able to have him longer on your roster, and you can pretty much witness the evolution of the next possible Jerry Rice, like this generation's form of Jerry Rice. Like for all you young kids out there, go Google fucking Jerry Rice if y'all don't know. Okay, I just realized I said it, and people are probably like, "Who is he talking about?"
That's a lofty name to make a comparison.
That is. But
dude, I think that we're gonna be coming into this really awesome era of football where we're gonna start seeing the young guard kind of do some of the things that we saw the guys that we grew up with, like, and don't be surprised what the eight remaining teams that don't have a Super Bowl, like don't be surprised if like 2 or 3 of them within the next like I will say 5 to 7 years accomplish a ring. Hot take.
Awesome. There you go. Take it to SportsMe.
Yep.
Alrighty. So now that we've got some blind player comparison out of the way and kind of understanding how some of those analyzations go into that, let's go ahead and we're going to hop into a 2-round rookie dynasty Superflex type of draft. 2 rounds coming up, and it's a PPR style format. So that being said, Robbie, you are the guest of honor tonight, and we're going to give you the 101 pick going into this dynasty rookie draft Superflex PPR. You're on the clock, sir.
All right. Really quick before I do this, I have to. Can I do this based off of my drafting style, or do I have to do it like most people are probably going to do?
No, what the whole purpose behind this is we want to see how each analyst would draft if they were sitting in that position. So and we're going to just rotate it through. So you got the 101, Alex is going to go at the 102, then Kevin, then me, then it'll go back to you, Robbie, and we'll just keep rotating through it.
Perfect. So me, I'm a running back, RB heavy type of guy, and I want to get them while they're young. I'm taking Najee at the 101, if possible. And everyone's probably like, but you're an ETN truther, but ETN I can take it at 102. I'm gonna go Najee at 101. I feel like it's disrespectful to not.
All right, Derek, can you write in on the show doc who gets taken, just so we can keep track of this, since we are making 24 picks here. So I don't necessarily disagree with your Najee Harris pick there, Robbie. To me, honestly, a lot of these, and I will put this caveat in there, a lot of these guys, it really depends on the situation that they go to, right?
Yeah.
There some of these guys like a Najee Harris, wherever he goes, is there a running back that's already established that's going to be in his way? Like that's one of those things that you have to take into consideration when you're making these. We don't have that information yet, so
exactly,
you have to go with your gut and what you think is going to be best, regardless of situation. So based on that, based on the player that I think is going to have an impact immediately, regardless of the situation that he goes to, at the 102, I'm going to take Kyle Pitts.
I love it.
because to me, it does not matter what situation he goes into.
No.
I think Kyle Pitts is going to have he's in a league where tight ends, we've talked about it. We talk about it all the time. Tight ends are a premium, and if you can get one of those top two, then you set yourself up really, really nicely. If you can get what I think a lot of people hope is that Kyle Pitts turns into one of those top two, a Kelsey Kittle type, then I think you've hit yourself a home run. And if it's a dynasty and you've got him on your roster for the entirety of his career, good on you.
You saying tight end, calling him a premium tight end is just a nice way of not saying the rest of the tight end market's a fucking desert wasteland.
It's tough. It's tough.
It's a vat. It's just.
Yeah, it is. Absolutely. It's a barren wasteland after that. So that's not the direction I expected you to go. So I can't.
Look at me pulling a San Francisco on draft night.
No doubt. So, I fully expected when I saw this, to say, you know what? If you're picking third and this league's been going for a while, there's a reason you're picking third. Your team's not good and you need some help. And, especially with the format that Derek laid out with it being super flex, like I was thinking Trevor Lawrence all day. Like, no, Trevor Lawrence. Like, obviously you need the help. But that's because I expected Najee and Travis Etienne to both be off the board by the time I picked at 3. And I just can't turn down the running back, y'all. Like, I'm in the same boat as Robbie. I can't do it. So I'm going to take Travis Etienne and just hope that he lands in that situation I need him to land in.
Hey, there is some freaking early QB strategist that is punching the freaking air at us right now. He's like, oh.
Well, I'll break the.
You get to get him. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm gonna take Trevor Lawrence there. Obviously, if you're drafting the 104, you miss the playoffs. In a super flex, the quarterback carries a premium. Even in single quarterback leagues, that position typically scores the most points of anybody. Super flex increases that value. That's where I'm going. Trevor Lawrence with the 104. Robbie, back to you.
All righty. And at the 105, you know what? At the 105, I'll go ahead and I'll take a quarterback. I think this fella lands in San Fran, and that team has the most complete weapons for him to be able to perform his Sunday duties and occasionally Mondays and Thursdays. I'm going to go ahead and take Justin Fields at the 105. Which I don't never take quarterbacks early. So shocker for everyone watching.
Alex at the 106.
All right. So at the 106, probably again, somebody who has looked at this and said, there's still several quarterbacks available. And, obviously there's still some running backs and wide receivers out there. I think at the 106 here, I'll go since it is a super flex, but I think this is a risk because I don't know that he's going to play right away. This is probably my bias leaning into it, but I'll go Trey Lance here.
Okay.
And leave the guy that's probably going to start day one still on the board. But again, it's a dynasty. It's a marathon, not a sprint, right?
Yeah, you're building for the future. I like Trey Lance as a better quarterback than the situation that the Wilson fella is going to probably end up in.
And he's not going to New York. That's it. Just I know it's a different coaching staff there and a different GM and everything, but it's still the New York Jets.
Yeah, it's the Jets. The old Jets quarterback is putting up fantasy points for you. Sorry.
All right. So we're at 7, right? So at 7, sitting right there on the cusp. Like, I'm going Javonte Williams, man. Like, I love what this kid did out of North Carolina. I'm not the Zach Wilson truther. Like, if Fields would have been there, if that would have been flipped, Robbie, and you would have took Williams instead of Fields, I maybe would look in that direction because I like Justin Fields a lot, but he ain't there. So I'm going to go Javonte Williams because this class is much deeper in receiver than it is in running back. So I'm going to get me a guy I can help hitch my wagon to.
So remind me not to draft around Kevin because we think way too alike. I'm not sitting in the same draft spot. You had to be a couple spots ahead. Like I need to be at the other end of the draft board.
Dude, I can't tell you the number of Dynasty just startups, right? And Derek and I both join in to have some fun, whatever. I can't tell you the number of freaking leagues where Derek and I were picking either back to back or only one spot in between us, and every time it's just snipe, and we're just texting each other back and forth, going, "I hate you, I hate you, I hate you."
That's tough. That's tough drafting with the people that you pod with. Oh God, those leagues get intense. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
Go to continue, Derek. My bad.
No, you're good.
We had a moment. Me and Kevin had a moment.
No, you
That's
hit the nail right on the head. It was literally he and I just wrapped up the Dynasty startup, and it was literally every round where we were back to back. He was either drafting right ahead of me or right after me, and every pick it was the text message came through like thanks a lot. So no, I'm right there with you. I like it. I'm going to take the best wide receiver, I think, in this draft class, though. And that's a guy that was in our blind comparison, player A, Jamar Chase.
Oh, you did it. You did it. You beat me to it.
You got to love that pick, right? If you're picking
Yeah.
eighth and you get Jamar Chase, you're loving that. You're going,
loving it.
this is way better than what I could have ever anticipated picking at 8.
I gotta agree. All right, so then at 9, damn, that puts it on me at 9. Still so much that you can do back here at 9. I'm gonna take a receiver as well, and I'm pulling Jalen Waddle. I'm pulling Jalen Waddle off the board right here. I like him more than Smith, so that's my reasoning.
Cool. Well, that makes 10 easy. I'll take Smith.
Just alley-oop that one to you.
I have a feeling that's how it's going to go in a lot of leagues this year. It'll be one right after the other, whichever way the guy picks in front of you. I mean, it's 6 of one, half dozen of the other in my eyes. I know that it's not, but when it comes down to it for a rookie draft and you need a receiver, which one does the guy in front of you value more?
Okay.
All right, so I think now's when I'm finally going to settle in and take my quarterback. I'll take Zach Wilson here. You're in the playoffs. You're pushing. Like maybe he's just that extra piece. If not, you stash him, right? You have the chance to let him develop, work around you for your dynasty team. So I'll take Zach Wilson here.
Oh, yeah.
All right. I like it. I'm going to take another dynamic wide receiver, a guy that can – I think I know where you think I'm gonna go, and I'm not gonna go that way. I'm gonna actually go with Rashad Bateman on this one. I
knew you.
Okay, I thought you were thinking I'd go with old Rondale Moore, but Bateman is the guy here. I like the build. I like his athletic profile, and the dude's a dynamic receiver. So sitting at the 112, I love that pick. Now the second round here, where we're getting into, we're actually going to reverse the order a little bit. Yep. So it'll be myself, then Kevin, then Alex, then Robbie, and repeating back through that way in the second round. So that being the case, here at the 201, it's again, if you're sitting there on the 201, you've got a lot of needs going into this thing, and tough route to try and pull there. You've got some great potential guys to do that, but I'm going to take another guy that I think is going to be a very good wide receiver in this league for many years, has a huge build on him, and a guy out of LSU. I'm going to take Terrence Marshall.
Damn it. I don't even have anything to say aside from that.
Dang it.
Did I just put some folks on tilt there? Is that what I just heard?
Yeah.
That's all right.
Y'all are welcome. Right. By the way, if you can put all the rest of your league mates on tilt during the draft, you did it right.
Yeah. The wide receiver value is going.
For what it's worth, there's still some receivers out there.
No, there's definitely still receivers out there, but that was about to be my go-to. Oh my gosh, almost 90% in the slot. Like gosh, oh God, I love Terrace Marshall.
So I'm gonna go back to it here. I'm gonna take Chuba Hubbard.
I like that one. Okay.
Get a little second round running back action with some pop here. See what he's able to do.
I think that he's going to be low key successful, and everyone is just wrongfully hating on him for no reason. So I like that pick.
Alex at the 203.
Yep. Yeah.
Well, I mean, I think consensus he's a first round grade and he's still out there. So I think at the 203 here, if you're, Rondale Moore's still on the board, I think that's a pretty easy one to hit draft and move on.
Hell yeah. And I'm so happy that just happened because I have the ability to go and get Kenneth Gainwell. Let's go.
I like that pick. That was going to be my 205 if he was still there. But since he's not, I'm going to go with another running back, and that's Trey Sermon.
Love it.
I like that pick a lot. I like that Trey Sermon pick.
Well, that's kind of like, I got to go with a guy that went to Oklahoma. Alex will sit there and say, he's from OSU, but then he forgets that, that Jalen Hurts thing he always tries to tell me when I claim Oklahoma on him.
Everybody and their brother transfers into Oklahoma or transfers out.
I wouldn't.
It's a revolving door there in Norman.
Let's see. You got Kevin.
You know what? I'm gonna stay on this running back train here. They're just so damn hard to come by, and spring's bountiful here. So Michael Carter, the other half of the UNC backfield, who's not getting as much love, but provides some good pop. I think he's going to be a good PPR asset to start his career. We'll see how he does and if he's getting touches around the goal line, but I do think he's going to be useful from day one. He will see some run right away.
Damn, I was expecting Khalil Herbert if you were going to go running back right there. Okay, I see.
Okay, so that puts me on at 207, and still, there's still a lot of really good talent here. If you want to go running back, even though a lot of them have gone. But I think, again, given the parameters of what this league is and where you're picking in the middle of the second round, I'll go quarterback here and Mac Jones.
Go. Enjoy that. Let's see. So it's to me now at the 208. Oh man, this one's tough. This one's honestly tough. But I'm not gonna do what I was thinking of. That's just crazy to do at the 208. So, Bateman's already gone. Marshall's already gone. Here, let me just see something really fucking quick. Let me go back and I need to look at my fucking rankings really fast. Okay, you know what? I'm gonna go Kadarius Toney. Give me Kadarius. I was split between either him or Elijah Moore. I'll go Kadarius Toney. There we go.
Never trust a Gator, man.
Yeah, I mean, true. Yeah.
Unless it's Kyle Pitts. That one you can trust that one.
Yeah. Yeah, I'll give you that. No, I'm still gonna go Kadarius Toney. I'm good. Yeah.
There's two.
Oh, that's the second. Yep,
We're at two. We're at two. So everybody following along, that's two.
Clean your act up. You better right this ship right now. All right.
I was gonna say, Alex and Robbie, you guys a little nervous that
we need to hold here on the under.
Yeah.
Get your act together. Get your act together, D.
All right. So the with the 209, I'm going to take another running back here, a guy out of Oklahoma as well, Ramondre Stevens.
Okay. All righty. Did not see that coming.
That's a little Oklahoma bias there. I probably could get him in the third round, but I'm going to reach up and get my guy here.
just so that you can say him on the pod. I get it. Yeah.
Man. All right.
He's a man.
I'm torn here at receiver, guys. I'm torn, and I'm gonna. Man, what do I want to do here? I'm gonna go with the. Well, damn right. So, time to switch up. I'm gonna go with Elijah Moore. I think I'm pretty confident in that, and I'll wait and see how far my other pick falls here. But Elijah Moore is my guy right here.
Okay. Alex.
Okay, so since I haven't picked a running back yet,
Because I got them all.
yeah, I know you do. I will go with Khalil Herbert here.
Yep. Hey, I like that pick. Go Hokies. Let's go. That makes my last pick a lot easier because I'm gonna go Brevin Jordan. Let me go ahead and lock in a tight end. Done.
There you go. I like it. So, guys, I like the draft picks. Like the fact that you had everybody behind you a lot of times going, "Ooh, lost my pick there," but I like it. I think we did some good work there. Give the listeners and the watchers there a good idea of how we would look at that and go through that. So, lots of fun there, guys. So,
Robbie, how do you have Amon-Ra St. Brown graded?
I think I have him at 9. Let me double check. I don't know why I have him at 10. I don't know why I'm having to check this when I literally posted this to Instagram the other day. I'm sorry for my bad memory.
It's all good. That's who I was debating between him and Moore on, but I struggle trusting Pac-12 receivers. I struggle trusting Pac-12 receivers, man.
Bro, he's Amon is really great at boxing out. He's really great in that aspect. But I mean, I put Damani right above him. I just had to give Damani the edge. Just Damani's shifty. I like the way he catches. I just had to go there over Amon. We'll see. We'll see. USC receivers come in sometimes and all right.
Derek, you said we'll kind of revisit this once after the draft, right? And once we start to see how these ADPs shake out.
Well, you are 100% correct there. And the real reason that I wanted to go through this exercise as well, just for some transparency for the listeners and the watchers out there, is the simple fact that you look at last year, like Jonathan Taylor was the consensus 101, smash the draft button if you're there with the 101. Some folks may have had a little bit of difference there, but consensus wise, that was kind of the way to go on that one across the industry. But
Clyde Edwards-Helaire.
Right.
Clyde Edwards-Helaire.
Well, before the draft, it was Jonathan Taylor.
Okay.
That's where I was going with it. Before the draft, it was Jonathan Taylor. After the draft, it was absolutely CEH there. So, really kind of wanted to put the same thing out there before we know where these landing spots are, so we can kind of see what that looks like and engage the interest there, and then understand once the landing spot's determined, and then see how much that really changes, because that's one of the things that a lot of times we don't necessarily look back and go, oh, the talent was better on this guy, but the landing situation was better here, and see how much that really influences and affects that, because it will do a lot of difference there. A lot of folks last year, I don't know about you, Robbie, but I know I didn't have CEH as a top 5 back before he landed in Kansas City going into dynasty drafts.
No, I think I had him at 5. I think I may have had him at 5. I cannot remember, and that's way too deep in my notepad to have to scroll back and look at those rankings.
Right. But
I will say though, I think it is interesting concerning Kyle Pitts, because like I said when I made the pick, I don't think that it matters where he goes. Now, if he goes to absolutely chaos, if he for whatever reason starts to fall. And guys, I know we did kind of a mock draft that Derek, I'm not sure if you posted that yet to the website. With the 3 of us, we did a mock draft, and I was sitting there at the 5th pick with Miami picking at 5, and I was like, 6. Sorry, was it 6? Thank you. At the 6th pick, and and Miami's sitting there, and it was like Kyle Pitts is still on the board in our exercise, and that's just a take him because he's the best player available. You may not need tight end help down there in Miami, but a player like that you just cannot get away from. So that's
right.
I think that's going to be a lot of mindset of a lot of fantasy drafters too. I think Kyle Pitts is going to go high regardless of where he ends up.
Yeah, the Kyle Pitts experiments it's going to really speak to how these NFL teams feel about that position, right? A couple of years ago, even after Gronk's done his thing and Kelsey's been doing his thing, you had Kelsey and Ertz, Kittle. Like, you have all these guys posting great fantasy numbers, but for the most part, the NFL, these GMs are really hesitant posting or picking tight ends early, and it's just how much do you believe in the talent, right? When you're watching this film, how much are you believing as a GM? Like, fantasy-wise, we believe, right? But the guys who get paid to actually do it, what are they seeing? And I think this draft is going to show us a lot what some of these guys are thinking.
It'll be dictated. It'll be dictated and predicated based off of how that position continues to evolve. The more we see it evolve into more of a pass catching position, the more that it'll become more viable as a GM to go out there and grab that.
And we've seen
Carolina.
I'm still
sitting on Carolina.
I mean, shoot, if he goes there, it's so much fun, as we've talked about. But I think that it really does come down to the player. Throw position out of it, because the player, I mean, you'd have no problem taking a wide receiver at 5 or 6 or wherever, in the top 10. You'd have no problem taking a wide receiver there. Kyle Pitts is every bit as good as a wide receiver. He just happens to line up in the tight end spot. That's the type of thing that, as the NFL kind of evolves and becomes this, more reliant on the passing game, you need as many pass catchers as you can. And if you can get a guy classified as a tight end, well, you might save yourself a few dollars in the process. Like, there's a business decision behind it too. That the top paid tight end, what is Kelsey's contract? I know he was, there was the issue of him fighting for being paid like a wide receiver, because that's essentially what he is. I mean, he was the best wide receiver last year.
Yeah. And Jimmy Graham before him with the Saints, right? Jimmy Graham fought that for 2 seasons.
We'll see it. We'll see it over time. We'll see it as it continues to happen.
Absolutely. So, guys, let's go ahead and move on over into some Washington football team. We still got a team of the week to break down. And Washington football team, it's not normal that we get into a playoff team that we're analyzing this early on before the NFL draft, but they won their division last year. So they got into the playoffs there.
No. Everybody else just lost that division, and they just happened to be the ones that.
No, we won it. We won it fair and square. All right.
That division was so bad.
Don't do that. Don't do that.
Everybody else just said, you know what? We need to send a representative. Washington, you've got it.
Traditionally, our division is not that bad. We're the only division with 4 Lombardis. Got us some slack.
It was bad last year.
A lot of changes happened across the 4 teams, but yeah.
Oh, very interesting. Let's go ahead and get on into some Washington football team. We're going to start where we always do, and that is in the running back room. And a guy that they drafted last year finished number 12. That's Antonio Gibson. He had 170 rush attempts, 795 yards, 11 rushing touchdowns, 36 receptions on 44 targets for an additional 247 through the air. Guys, your thoughts around Antonio Gibson?
I think he's going to end as like a potential RB6, maybe RB7 overall at the position. Because we're going to move up in the draft and we're going to get Slater as our offensive lineman. Woo! I'm manifesting that. I don't think that's really going to happen. I don't have an inside source.
There's not, but heck, that'd be the right move for them, right? Solidify that offensive line, help keep things going there. Like, I'm all about it.
You have him practicing against Chase Young in every practice, so now they're both just getting better. Like, yeah.
So I like Gibson. I wasn't quite as high on him as I think even you were, Derek, last year. I know you really liked Gibson coming right out. You saw that. I think I was a little bashful, kind of playing that running back roulette that the Washington football team kind of looked like it was going to be set out to do at the beginning of the season. And the first couple weeks, you still weren't sure, right? Like Gibson wasn't really catching the ball like he thought. He was only seeing, 12, 13, 14 touches a game through the first little bit, and then all of a sudden he catches fire. They're using him in the passing game. He's getting the rock. He's his
confidence came in.
Absolutely. You could see the game slow down for him mid-season almost. Like it was crazy. He was finding the end zone. He was absolutely, kind of that key component in the middle of the season that was helping Washington win some of these football games that propelled them eventually to win that division. So, him getting dinged up and missed, 2 of the last 4 games. So that's what cost him from inside a top 10 finish. So I think Robbie's spot on. Like 6, I don't know that I'm willing to sign off on 6 just yet, but I think somewhere in that 8 to 10 range is probably where I'm comfortable with Antonio Gibson. If he's able to, land in the end zone 8 or 9 times like he did last year, then absolutely you could see him get up to 6 because injuries happen at this position. And you have guys like CMC and Saquon go down. Zeke had a crap year last year. Dalvin Cook's going to miss at least 2 games. And who knows what Kamara's going to be without Drew Brees under center. So there's a lot of uncertainty in the top 5, right? And I'm leaving Jonathan Taylor out. So all you truthers, excuse me, whatever. But
no, you're correct though.
For the point of this, I like him. He's a bit bigger, right? 6'2", 211, but he's got that shift because he played some receiver in college. So he's really good at that one cut, make the guy miss. And if he gets into the secondary, y'all, that's where the trouble is. Ask the Cowboys. Ask the Cowboys what happens when he gets past that low linebackers. Just gone. Like he just absolutely torched him both times last year because he could get on the edge. He got past Jalen Smith and Leighton Vander Esch and was just boom, lights out. So
and he knows how important it is that we whoop up on them damn cowgirls. Hell yeah.
There you go. So Ron Rivera style football, right? Play good defense, which the Washington football team did last year. I think that's still going to improve, and run the football. You have Fitzpatrick as your quarterback now. We'll get into that in a second, but I do think this is going to lead to more opportunities for Gibson. And as long as the offensive line, which seems to be the big caveat of this offseason, right? As long as the offensive line can stay healthy and stay together, this kid's got a bright future, y'all. So don't be afraid to take him, in your redrafts or in your dynasties, because you can get him as your RB2 and really stack your team off if that's how you're wanting to set up, your fantasy football run for the season.
That's kind of where I'm right with you there, Kevin. And I think the big thing, that the point that is the biggest is that he's got Ryan Fitzpatrick too. So that's going to help in the pass catching portion of things. And Fitzpatrick, for everything that he does, the guy knows how to manage a game and just seems to know when to push the buttons, and it helps everybody else around him. So I like Antonio Gibson. I'm with you. I'm not sure that I'd throw him up top 5, top 6, but I do see him as an RB1. If he can, the 11 rushing touchdowns last year was very nice, and if he can get close to that number again, that's gonna keep him there. Maybe perhaps an uptick in yards. If he can flirt with 900 yards on another, if he doesn't miss those 2 games, you're probably looking at another easy 25-30 carries, right? Easy 25-30 carries there. So that could get you to that point. So that would be pretty good territory there. So I'm with you on Antonio Gibson. I think I was probably a little gun shy on him last year just because of the situation he was going to. And I was wrong on that. I'll tell you, I was wrong on that. He turned out a very good year. And that was what he did.
Derek, what was his yards per carry last year? You have that in front of him?
I've got it.
He fucking muted himself.
4.7.
By the way, that was 3. Thank you for
No,
the
it
over.
doesn't count because he asked you, but I answered it. So 4.7.
4.7. So
All right. Well, that's the half, Alex, to push then.
That's the half. That's the half right there. Hell yeah. Jay. Yeah. Next. Who we got up next?
So with Antonio Gibson, you're right, Kevin. I was higher on him than a lot of other folks, especially in our home league draft, where I think I took him maybe in the 4th, 5th round. Like it was definitely took him early. Now, granted, for those of you that follow along, we play that one with the 2 keeper, and so really the 4th or 5th round, and that one's really more like the 6th or 7th in a lot of other types of leagues out there, but. Couple of things that both concern and excite me with Antonio Gibson here is 11 rushing touchdowns. Yeah, you look at it, he had an extremely high clip at getting into the end zone when he was carrying the ball, to the point where it may be tough to duplicate that, right? You sit there and you think about touchdowns. They're the hardest thing to project and predict for fantasy. And when you're talking about him missing a couple of games there, he scored almost a touchdown every single time that he was out there, but he is a big body type of guy that can get down there and has a nose for the end zone to get in there. So I think you'll probably see him maybe regress a little bit as far as touchdowns go, but you're probably talking about 8, 9, somewhere in there. So not much, but I do see a big uptick coming as far as the carries go, because you look at it, he only had about 170 carries last year. And I could very easily see him getting up there closer to 225, 250, somewhere in that range for it. And if he can maintain anywhere near that same kind of efficiency that he had, say, over a 4.3, 4.4, even a little bit of a dip there, you're still talking an over 1,000-yard running back there with 8, 9 touchdowns. Like that's a guy that easily will get into the top 10. Sign me up and let's move on from there. What do you got, Kevin?
I think my final thought about that is what he could possibly use or lose in rushing touchdowns. He didn't have a receiving touchdown last year. So he didn't. And with him being utilized in that with Fitzmagic, I'm thinking that's where you're going to balance out. He may not have 11 on the ground, but I still think he can get to 11 total just because of his use as a pass catcher and being able to use him in some specialty situations.
No, absolutely. And you look at the fact, too, that J.D. McKissic, we're going to right now, J.D. McKissic was running back 24 last year, 85 rush attempts, 365 yards, 1 rushing touchdowns. But where he did all of his work really was through the air with 80 receptions for 110 targets, 589 yards, 2 touchdowns, and just kind of carrying that on. Another year in that system, I think you'll see Antonio Gibson pick up that pass pro even more so, to the point where he's going to be out there more so in some of that passing down work than J.D. McKissic was. And you'll see him also pick up in some targets and absolutely some touchdown receptions there as well, Kevin.
Yeah, as we move into J.D. McKissic, I don't see 80 receptions again, guys. Like, that was a career year for him, and congratulations. Obviously, he earned that. The Washington football team needed him to have that, but I do think you're going to see a regression here on these 80 receptions, most of that going towards Gibson. But instead of 80, it wouldn't surprise me if you're looking at somewhere between 55 and 60. Like, it's going to be a pretty deep cut as Washington realizes all the neat, fun ways that they can use Gibson while he's still absolutely fresh into this league and before he has any tread worn off his tires.
I'm just not even going to worry about J.D. McKissic. He's not RB1, RB2. Like, maybe get him off the waiver wire and play him in your flex whenever need be. That's my take right there on McKissic.
So that was going to be my question to everybody was, McKissic finished as an RB2. Yeah, it was back half, running back 24. That's still RB2. He's not going to finish at RB2 territory next year. I think we all agree on that. But will it be as deep a dive as maybe Robbie's suggesting, RB4? I mean, I think there's still some value there, especially in these deeper leagues. And I think he'll still, provide you some oomph. But yeah, I'm not sure that he's not going to finish RB2 territory.
No.
But
You're not leaving draft day like, yeah, I picked up JD McKissic. Like, that's not happening.
right.
No, he gets forgotten. And where I utilized him in a lot in sleeper last year, guys, is he had the wide receiver and running back tag. So due to injuries and some situations on a couple different teams I was able to plug him in at receiver and reap the benefits of that. And kind of carry that through while he had that career year last year. So he's a forgotten guy. You'll be able to pick him up late in a lot of different formats. You'll probably be able to grab him off the waiver wire. Like Robbie said, like he's just not a name that sticks out like, oh, I got to flag this guy. Like he's someone I'm checking out. So, you can sit back if he's a guy that you want as a fill-in off your bench or something like that. You'll be able to grab him in most cases 11th 12th round, if not later, depending on who you're drafting with and if I guess that league knows what they're looking at.
So if you do go Antonio Gibson early, and this is a genuine question here, and by early I mean you know what I'm saying, do you take McKissic as a handcuff?
No,
I mean, you don't really need to, because you'll be able to get him off of waivers. Like, I'm telling you, you're going to be able to get him off of waivers, or either you'll be able to, if you're that worried about it, then you can trade for him for dirt cheap. Like, we're talking about JD McKissic.
So this isn't a case of where you want to have a piece of the Washington football team presented by FedEx, which I still maintain is how they're going to go. Washington football team, you don't want a piece of their running game unless it's Antonio Gibson. That's what I'm getting.
correct.
Yeah.
Yep.
Exactly. Yeah.
Yeah, I still maintain that there's only a couple of guys out there that you want to handcuff, that you want to have that backup role on that. Antonio Gibson's not that guy. The guy that would fit that profile for me is a running back that is a primary workhorse back, a guy that's going to get about 70 to 80% of the share of the work, and a dedicated backup that if that guy goes down, you're going to plug this other guy in that's going to see a similar workload. I think if Antonio Gibson goes down and JD McKissic is going to come in for pass pro, and they'll go find a guy to fill in to be the thumper in between the tackles.
They brought in Lamar Miller for that, guys.
Yeah.
That's what they brought Lamar Miller in for. It's not
Lamar
for his
Miller
pass
sucks.
catching. Well, maybe so, but if Gibson goes down, he's the guy who's going to get the first and second down work.
Yeah.
Right. So that right there would be why I wouldn't look to handcuff him. There's a few guys out there that will fit that bill, and Antonio Gibson is not one of them. Guys, let's go ahead and move on over into the wide receiver room. And a guy that we talked about a little bit earlier, Terry McLaurin, he finished wide receiver 21 last year, 87 receptions, 134 targets, 1,118 yards, 4 touchdowns. Guys, your thoughts on Terry McLaurin?
He will be you'll be able to roster him as a wide receiver one, and I think that he could creep into that top 15 this year. I'm confident drafting. With me being an RB heavy strategist, I'm confident in rostering Terry McLaurin as a one. If I can pull off something sly and get him as a 2, that's awesome, but I doubt that's going to happen.
I like McLaurin a lot this year because of Fitzpatrick. I faded him a bunch last year because the quarterback position was very uncertain and you didn't know what you were getting from week to week. Assuming that Fitzpatrick is the guy, and even not if Heineke, am I saying that right, Robbie? Taylor Heineke?
Yeah.
Heineke, I think it goes.
I call him Heineken. Yeah, I call him Heineken. So, yeah.
So either one, I do like McLaurin more this year. I do think his target share is going to probably increase because he's not the only dog in town. Now, Samuel will see some of it, but, if you can consistently see 10, 11, maybe even 12 targets a game, like, he's going to produce for you. He only fell in the end zone 4 times last year. I think that's pretty low for him, so I expect that number to rebound a little bit, so that'll help. Plus, another year in Rivera's system, I don't expect the Washington football team to to be struggling to find their identity so much. You have your quarterback, you know who you have as your star running back. That defense is still good, and while you're not going to have as much garbage time, those garbage time points, I think the efficiencies are going to pick up, because undoubtedly there's going to be a couple games, and we all know they're coming, where Fitzpatrick will throw 4 picks. Like, it is just written in stone. There is going to be a game where he throws 4 picks, but he will keep throwing. And when they need to play catch up, F1's the guy they're going to go to do it.
Yep. Hell yeah.
Usually with that 4-pick game comes a 4-touchdown performance. That doesn't matter because it's 4 touchdowns in the fourth quarter. But I'm with you, and Kevin, you're right with, wide receivers. You're only as good as the quarterback throwing to you. And last year, this was a huge question mark in Washington was, what is the quarterback play going to be? And that is going to affect how you look at these receivers. While McLaurin is a fantastic talent, running routes doesn't do you any good if you can't get the football delivered to you. So I think the issue with McLaurin this year is finding him at the right spot when it comes to a redraft. And I think that there's probably going to be I'm trying to, think out loud here, but I really do. I think that there's going to be maybe a lot of people that will take him probably a round too soon. And I don't know that that's, what you want to do. Granted, if he is a wide receiver 1 and he finishes in the top 12, there is no such thing as a round too soon with that. But I think that that's probably what's going to happen. Am I off base there? Do you think I'm off base there?
Depend where you have that round. Like the 3rd instead of the 4th?
Like the 4th instead of the 5th.
Nah, he ain't going in the 5th. I'll grab him.
Not going. That's not happening. That's not happening. Not even in box. Yeah.
Okay, so
you could argue
what
the
if
3rd
somebody goes,
early,
so what if
whatever.
What if he? So you're comfortable taking him in the 4th?
Hell yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I'm if he falls to there, yeah. But
that's
he's
what,
not
running back, wide out.
Yeah. That'd pretty much be what you'd have to do.
Okay. Yeah, I could definitely see that and get behind that. Even when you look at last year, like one of the things that I like looking for when you're talking about having that first wide receiver on the team is a guy that's going to demand targets and get opportunity. And Terry McLaurin is a guy that will do that. You look at last season, one of his lowest games that he had as far as a target go was 6 targets, which there's a lot of receivers out there that you could be drafting to try and put in that same range. That's going to be their high water mark is about 6 targets a game. Terry McLaurin under the previous, with Alex Smith and Dwayne Haskins and kind of that quarterback revolving door that they had a little bit there last year. Yeah, the lowest target amount he saw was still 6. So I could get behind that. And I think that you'll see that consistently around 8 or 9 targets per game with Ryan Fitzpatrick under center. Ryan Fitzpatrick is a guy that's going to be able to push the ball down the field. And that's where Terry McLaurin really thrives, is being able to catch that ball out in space and get down the field. And, just like going back to our blind player comparison, he's a guy that can just run away from folks and has that kind of speed. So if you can get him the ball in space, let him move and hit him open, which is what Ryan Fitzpatrick likes to do, I see some very big things, and I'll see an uptick on touchdowns. And for me, it's really going to depend on who else really kind of is around that deal. But he's a guy that I could absolutely see putting on my team in about the 4th round.
Amen. That.
Cool.
So current ADP, just to wrap it up, his current ADP is 4.02. So he's going about 38th overall, something like that. So I'm taking that in a heartbeat, because there's guys going ahead of him, just looking at it, that I'd gladly have F1 over. Like I'll take Terry McLaurin over Mike Evans right now. There's just too much going on in that Tampa Bay offense. I'll take Terry McLaurin as the clear-cut option. Julio Jones. Who knows what Julio Jones you're going to get? And even if you do, he has a tendency to never fall in the end zone. So I'll take youth on my side, not the guy who's been dinged up with injuries. Like, just random things like that. Every player, every fantasy GM needs to make that decision for themselves. But this is where, don't get caught up in the names of these guys. Like, and we're all guilty of it at one point or another, but realize what system they're in, how they're going to be utilized, like what their target share and market share within that team is going to be. Because really, I think it's at least a half a round late for McLaurin, if not a full round. Like, I fully expect him to be a guy that's gone by middle of the third in every single draft I'm in.
Yeah, I would absolutely agree with that. Let's go ahead and move on to the newly acquired Curtis Samuel coming over in free agency. The Curtis Samuel finished as wide receiver 25 last year, 77 receptions, 97 targets, 851 yards, 3 touchdowns through the air. But he also had 41 rush attempts, 200 yards, and 2 touchdowns on the ground over there in Carolina last year. So your thoughts on Curtis Samuel?
I think it's going to be possibly the exact same thing. Like, I'm not expecting him to do much better than that. But I'm also not expecting like anything like significantly worse. I mean, I get it's a different coaching staff, a different coaching regime. The whole wide receiver core is going to be different. It's literally going to be Terry, Curtis, and then like you may see, or it'll be. It sounds like that they're really trying to give Adam Humphries a second chance, or I guess a third chance, whatever. So I mean, Adam Humphries is going to be tossed into the fold. So I mean, I could say he could maybe do the exact same thing, and I'm not threatened by it as if I'm currently rostering McLaurin. So yeah.
Curtis Samuel is a guy. He's I guess he's one of my sleepers. His average draft positions, in the 10th round, like he's going on about 110th overall. So Curtis Samuel's a guy that I'm going after. Like, he is a guy that I want on my bench to start the season. We're just going to see how he's doing, fill him in as a flex. Maybe he ends up in that wide receiver 2 spot, because I do think he has the ability to finish inside the top 30. So that wide receiver 2, wide receiver 3 kind of fringe area there a little bit. But if I'm getting him all the way down in the 10th, that's value. That is what I want.
Yeah, I'll take that all day.
Round. So I like Curtis Samuel a lot. I think he's very shifty. He has no problem doing some of the dirty work and the underneath routes. He's going to take pressure off of Terry McLaurin. And then throughout the season, you're going to have defenses play this game, right? Like, all right, are we still going to roll coverage over to Terry McLaurin to make sure he doesn't beat us deep? Fitzpatrick's smart enough. He's been around this league long enough that there's times where he forces the ball, but there's other times where he's extremely efficient and he just finds the open guy. I mean, look at Devontae Parker. Devontae Parker was trailer trash in the fantasy football world until he played with Ryan Fitzpatrick. And then all of a sudden, Devontae Parker shows up and everybody's going, oh my God. And then the next season comes and now you're bouncing back and forth between Fitzmagic and Tua, and Parker goes back down into the shithole. Like, Curtis Samuel can be the fantasy star-esque like Parker was. Not the same numbers. He's not the same guy, but the one that you draft super late that kind of comes out of nowhere that can help your team win games down the stretch. I love Curtis Samuel.
No, I understand completely. I like that take. I agree. I agree with that pretty much damn near verbatim.
I think Curtis Samuel's best asset will be Ryan Fitzpatrick and the fact that he will throw the football, because Ryan Fitzpatrick will throw the football. So I think that Curtis Samuel is going to benefit immensely from Ryan Fitzpatrick. And so that to me is a guy that, Kevin, you put the label on him, and I totally agree with it. He is a sleeper, and he will help, and that he will be a contributor on your fantasy football team if you get him.
Yeah. And between now and when you guys are, getting ready for draft season, shout draft night out, Kent in Ohio. Make sure you guys get your tickets now. Come party with your boy. What? Yeah, I'll be hosting. I'll be one of the hosts for that. But no, yeah, like between now and then, like I don't see his ADP like massively like swaying upwards. So I mean, yeah, we're all on the same page.
Yeah, no, I like it because he is a guy that kind of gets forgotten about, even though when you look at the back half of last season, he was a fantasy stud over there, really putting up a ton of production there. I like the fact that he goes back to Washington on this one for the fact that he gets to be kind of that clear-cut number 2 guy on the team,
Yep.
but even more so from the standpoint that he goes back to the staff that drafted him and the team, the guys that really saw something of him coming out. And so I like that fit for him as well. They will find ways to get him utilized in the game, whether it's passing, whether it's running, whether it's, whatever that looks like, they're going to find ways to get the ball in the hands of him. But here's kind of an interesting question for the group and the panel here. When you look at it, right, we've kind of established here that Terry McLaurin's a 4th round guy, Curtis Samuel's a 10th round guy. Obviously, if you're drafting, you're probably not going to draft them both to have on your roster. So here's my question for you. Factoring into ADP, who would you rather have for 2021? Would you rather have Terry McLaurin with a 4th round pick or Curtis Samuel with a 10th round pick on your roster?
Oh, McLaurin, always.
See, I think I'm the other way around. I think I'd rather go with the 10th because I think Curtis Samuel is going to be a guy that easily performs inside of wide receiver 2 territory. And I probably see him, right around that 20 mark there. So I can get a ton of value back there and I can go out and get a guy that's probably going to be similar to, a similar finish to Terry McLaurin, just kind of looking at it. So I could go either way, but I think I'd actually probably lean Curtis Samuel just because of the ADP and the way that he'll outperform it.
I could see that. I could see that side of it too, though. I respect it.
I think for me, a lot of it's just going to determine how my draft is set up through that point, right? How does my roster construction look through the first 3 rounds? And if I absolutely need kind of a game-changing receiver, yeah, I'm going McLaurin in the 4th, and I'm okay with that. Like, I can absolutely live on that hill, and I'm okay. If there's something else, maybe I, split it up. Maybe you grab Justin Jefferson in the 3rd, so maybe you don't feel like you need that receiver, or maybe you went something was DK in the 2nd round if that's what you want to do, and so you don't necessarily have to have McLaurin. Maybe there's some running back value there. Maybe you can sneak in a Swift or an Allen Robinson there and grab Samuel later.
See, I'm always trying to construct the perfect team that in the best way possible. I'm not going to try and get cute. If I can get McLaurin, like if the situation when I draft, I'm drafting to be water. Like I'm being watered up the whole time. Mind clear, ready to go. And yeah, man, if I could get McLaurin, I'm gonna get McLaurin. I'm not gonna get cute and be like, I could pass on him and maybe swing back and get Curtis Samuel. Nah, F1 baby all day.
I think with this
best player available.
With this question, if the question is, I understand it, is you either get McLaurin in the 4th round or you get Curtis Samuel in the 10th. Like there's one or two. Like
yep.
you
will
pick absolutely. Yeah, I think I would lean towards Samuel in the 10th. I just think that there's other value. And Derek, to your point, it's a guy that I think is going to finish higher than what his draft position is. Even if his ADP moves up into 8-9, I still think that you're going to get a guy that outperforms that. So I think I'd be more comfortable drafting Curtis Samuel later than McLaurin early.
Okay, Alex, I'm not gonna lie, it makes me a little nervous that you just agreed with me on that one. But
yeah, now he's gonna get hurt.
It happens.
So actually, that brings an interesting question when y'all were going through there, talking Allen Robinson's right around the same ADP, if I'm not mistaken, right now as what Terry McLaurin's going.
I mean, I would take Allen Robinson.
Okay.
Actually, no, that's a sucky situation.
I don't know.
I'm not Andy Dalton.
That's on the quarterback. At that point, it really, really depends on which quarterback you think is going to get him the ball more. And boy, do you trust Andy Dalton to get the ball to Allen Robinson?
Andy Dalton will force feed a wide receiver.
That's true. We saw that with AJ Green.
And this might be the best quarterback that Allen Robinson's played with.
Hey, you bite your tongue. No, I can't. I have no defense there.
For me, it's probably league preference, right? If we're going PPR, I think I'm leaning Allen Robinson. If it's a half point or a standard league, I think F1 is probably the play there. You have a little bit more, big game upside. But if I'm getting that full point per reception, I do think Allen Robinson will probably eke out ahead of Terry McLaurin.
Okay. I like it. Guys, just a teaser. You'll probably see that question on SportsMe, so download the app, get SportsMe app, and come battle that one out with us. I think that's one that we'll have to put up there. So, any desire to talk about any of the other wide receivers in the Washington football?
No.
Here's a question. Are they related?
No, actually, they're not. They're not.
That should tell you how much I'm paying attention to wide receivers 3 and 4 at the Washington football team facility.
Dude, everyone asks that. Like, are those two related? I'm like, Wikipedia is out there, right? You can just look that up. Yeah, no, they're not. Oh, Logan Thomas. I'm sorry. It's me as like a logical thinker. I'm like, yeah, like, no, Wikipedia that one, bro. I noticed I said Wikipedia, not Google. That showed how old I am.
All righty. Well, let's go ahead and move on over to the tight end room with no real desire to talk about Adam Humphrey, Cam Sims, or Steve Sims as the other Washington football team wide receivers there. So Logan Thomas last year, tight end number 6, 72 receptions, 110 targets, 670 yards, 6 touchdowns. Guys, your thoughts on Logan Thomas?
He'll end tight end 7 because Kyle Pitts is going to bump him down one slot. But for the most part, I think that the tight end landscape kind of stays very similar to what it looked like, just overall, just that position grouping and just those rankings in general. Of course, barring any injuries to any of those guys, of course, we want all those guys to be healthy. But I mean, Logan, I think that you can draft them, if you don't get one of the big 3, Waller, Kittle, Kelsey. And if that's the case, I'm perfectly fine with rocking with Logan Thomas, especially in redraft formats. I mean, Dynasty, you're going to end up eventually having to replace an old tight end, but these guys don't really blossom until they get older anyway. So that's what you're dealing with when you're rocking with the tight end position. So I'm comfortable with it.
I like Logan Thomas. He kind of came out of nowhere, right? Finally blossomed and showed his ability to catch the football last season. So he's a guy that I think a lot of people are going to overlook. Quite frankly, a lot of people don't know jack squat about him. So they're just going to be looking at a rankings chart and going, yeah, this guy looks all right. Like he's next best available. But you're getting a guy who's better than that. And maybe you're not going to see as much usage in the passing game with Curtis Samuel being there. But on the flip side, Ryan Fitzpatrick does utilize tight ends. So he's not going to disappear 6'6", 250. Like he is a big body guy who can run the back of the end zone and box out. So he's a very viable asset. And I have no problem if I'm waiting a little bit longer on tight end past the Evan Ingrams, past the Hunter Henrys, and grabbing a Logan Thomas right before you kind of get into the Austin Hooper area.
Yeah, I think with Logan Thomas, as we have, and I keep referring to the tight end tiers that we do, which we should probably update those after a while here. But I think with him, he is solidly in that second tier. But I guess for me, Fitzpatrick is a good quarterback. Fitzpatrick will find the open guy, whoever that is. and he will throw the football. So I think he does touch up just a little bit from what we saw last year for Logan Thomas. But, I'm looking at some of these tight ends around him, and, would I rather have a Gronk or a Logan Thomas? Well, I think that's a tough question, or a Jonnu Smith or a Logan Thomas. I think I think those are kind of where you're going to see those guys kind of finish.
I mean, we are talking about a position where between like tight end 3 and like tight end 20 is like what, like 0.3 separation is like, it wasn't, so it doesn't matter really. Like when it comes to the tight end, like that tight end is the one position that I'm like okay with just grabbing whoever. Like I might as well just start streaming tight ends. You know, that might be my new thing this year. I'm going to start streaming tight ends.
That is a strategy.
That's not a bad one. So because you're right down there, once you get past, kind of those top tier guys, there's a lot of variability out there. And for the most part, most tight ends are touchdown dependent when it comes down to it. So, you see that constantly when we're talking about these tight ends and going through these rankings and really looking at that the guys that finish in the, top 12, that tight end 1 in the back half really fell into the end zone, at least once every other game or once every third game type of thing. And a lot of times the yards didn't necessarily play that big of a factor into it. Logan Thomas was a little bit different in that aspect because of the fact that he was heavily featured in the passing offense last year and was a heavily targeted guy. You look at it, several of the games, especially the back half of the year where he had several finishes inside the top 10, top 5 even, where he was targeted, 15, 12 times a game. He was definitely chewing up some targets there, but I see that continuing a lot, similar to it. And to kind of bounce back and answer your question, I would think I'd rather have Logan Thomas than a Jonnu Smith this year, Alex, simply from the standpoint that I think Logan Thomas will see more opportunity than Jonnu will. Like we talked about when we discussed the Patriots a couple weeks ago, Jonnu is going to be a guy that's going to be, his fantasy position is going to be touchdown dependent again. I think Hunter Henry in that situation is going to get more of the receiving work. And with Logan Thomas, you have the ability to kind of marry both of them together. I don't know that I necessarily see Kyle Pitts overtaking him this year. And that has more to do with the fact that when tight ends come into the league, they typically take that 2 or 3 years to really kind of blossom out there. And I see the similar learning curve for Kyle Pitts this year as well. So I'm probably going to put Logan Thomas in my rankings when it's all said and done, slightly above Kyle Pitts.
And 2 of the top 5 tight ends last year were streamed, right?
Right.
Bobby Tonyan and Logan Thomas, right?
Yep.
So to Robbie's point, like, don't be afraid. If you missed your guy, don't reach. Don't freak out.
Don't worry.
Sit back. Most of these guys from 8 through 15, 8 through 20 are a dime a dozen. So don't be afraid if you have to stream tight ends. You don't have to have one of the top 3 guys or feel like you need to make a splash to do all right. Like, you can absolutely pay attention and do just fine at the tight end spot if you're not getting Kelsey or Waller or Kittle.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
All righty, guys. Let's go ahead and move on over to the quarterback. And Ryan Fitzpatrick is now in town there, quarterback 28 last year. Down there in Miami, was really kind of a relief bullpen pitcher, it seemed like, towards the back half of the year. But 183 completions, 267 targets, 2,091 yards, 13 touchdowns, 8 interceptions. Guys, your thoughts on Ryan Fitzpatrick?
Awesome. I'm going to do mine super, super quick because I'm about to run to the front door and grab this pizza really quick. Ryan Fitzpatrick, I think that he's definitely going to be a top 24 guy. I could maybe see him. We'll go QB 20. He will in QB 20. I don't mind having him as my QB 2 in Superflex. And we've talked about him, consistently throughout every other player that we've covered. I'm rocking with Fitzmagic as my QB2 if I can have him on my Superflex roster. Dilly, y'all. I'm gonna go get this pizza and I'll be right back so we can talk to Henneke. And yeah, thank you guys. Sorry.
Alrighty. What thoughts you got on old Ryan Fitzmagic there?
That's actually, I just to piggyback off what Robbie said, I think that's where Ryan Fitzpatrick's value is that QB2 on a super flex league, where it's not going to be bad. It might burn you 1 or 2 weeks with the interceptions, but you're gonna get what you get out of Ryan Fitzpatrick. Like we know what he is. We know what type of quarterback he is. We know that, maybe he might be influenced a little bit by Ron Rivera's coaching, but I still think that's where the value for Fitzpatrick is as a QB2 in a super flex league. And truth be told, I'm not sure that I would do it.
I'm all for it because you can get him so stinking late. Like, again, value, especially if you're playing in a super flex league. If you're able to wait on quarterback and get a guy, who's maybe not even in the top 24 of drafted quarterbacks because of some of these new guys coming in and everybody wanting to make their splash, sit back and wait, load up at skill position, then take Fitzpatrick. I think Robbie's being fairly conservative. I think Fitzpatrick could end up inside the top 15. So yeah. I think the weapons are there. I think, his experience is there. And again, I've said this a couple different times, and I know we've all kind of said it. Ryan Fitzpatrick's first year in an offense is his best year in an offense. So I'm okay with being on the Ryan Fitzpatrick hype train for this season. Like, I think he's going to do a lot of good things. I think Rivera brought him in because he knows he's a veteran. He can trust him while kind of coaching Taylor Heineke a little bit. But these are probably the best. It's probably the best group of weapons that Fitzpatrick has played with in his career. And I know I'm rolling through like 12 different teams to try and figure out all the guys that he's played with, but I'm perfectly fine with this. Fitzpatrick is a solid QB2 with he's going to give you some QB1 weeks. And realistically, I can see him finish QB 15 for the season, and it wouldn't shock me by any stretch.
No. And when you look back at it, before they made the shift to Tua right after the bye week last year, Ryan Fitzpatrick, his finishes on the week were 32, 11, 6, 10, 3, 13. So he was a guy that was consistently up there and delivering for you week in, week out for fantasy. That very first week when they played New England, throw that one out of the mix there. And it's an overall very consistent top 12 quarterback type of week, just weekly finish every week there. And that's a guy that I could see, again, him delivering a ton of those types of performances this year. You see old Riverboat Ron there, like to gamble and like to play a little bit. And I could see them, again, going to set up this offense in a manner that's going to allow Ryan Fitzpatrick to really succeed. And that's pushing the ball down the field, as well as the fact that he's got some of these guys that he can check down to if he needs to and still be very successful. So I think you're right. I think he's got a ton of talent around him, and it's going to be a very fun team to watch there. So kind of a quick question for y'all. So a little bit of a almost trivia, but I'm just going to give the answer away. Ryan Fitzpatrick, in all of the years and teams that he has been on, has never made the playoffs. Couple that with the fact that the NFC East has not had a repeating divisional champion going back over the past decade plus. So the question I have for y'all is, Ryan Fitzpatrick and the Washington football team, are they going to be able to make the playoffs? Was the first question. Second one, are they going to be able to repeat as divisional champions?
They will make the playoffs. They will repeat as divisional champs, and Fitzpatrick will be a Pro Bowler.
You heard it here first.
Holy shit. That sounds like a fan trying to wish that into the ethos right there.
Well,
put that out there in the universe.
I'm halfway.
It's for him, mainly.
I'm a third of the way there with him. I think Washington finds a way back into the playoffs. That defense is freaking good, y'all. Like, do not sleep on Washington's defense. that it will come down real close towards the end of the season with that divisional race. I think Washington might end up a half game back of the division, but like I said, a wild card performance there, and we'll be just fine. They'll hop back in it and see if they're able to build off the success that they had towards the tail end of last season. But I don't know about Pro Bowler. I'm not that proud yet, guys. I'm not that proud yet. There's a lot of quarterbacks in the NFC.
Although if he's a Pro Bowler, I think both 15 and 20 are too light of finishes out there for sure.
Yeah.
Like if he's a Pro Bowler, that's going to put him easily top 10 fantasy type of finish there. So be very interesting to see, and it'll be a lot of fun to watch this team. I have a feeling, because you're right. Last year, that defense really, really good. I think that you're going to see again a very scary defense out there, and the fact that Ryan Fitzpatrick and this offense and the changes they made, it's going to be fun to watch.
And Fitzpatrick's just fun to have on your fantasy team. Like,
Yeah.
he's not the sexy name, but I'm telling you, if anybody who has had Ryan Fitzpatrick on their fantasy team, there's just that extra level of excitement, because you'd never quite know what you're going to get. Like, he has good baselines, he's efficient enough, but man, you get into that tight game and that he could absolutely win it and blow the doors off of it, or he could throw 4 interceptions and just nail your coffin shut. But that's exciting, right? It's part of the game. It's part of the fun. It's why we tune in, watch, play, engage, all those things. So, if for nothing else, he's a fun player to have on your team, because you're always engaged on what he's going to do and whether it's going to help you or hurt you.
Okay, here's the question for the group then. We'll take the current Washington football team quarterback or a previous Washington football team quarterback. Which one would you rather have, Fitzpatrick or Cousins?
Fitzpatrick.
For the entertainment value?
For this makeup, I like this team makeup. I like Fitzpatrick and how he fits into that one.
They're the same freaking guy.
I know, right? That's when I was going back and forth. I was like,
but I feel like they're the same guy. They're guys that go later in drafts. They go undervalued. They consistently put up. We were talking about this last week with the Vikings. Kirk Cousins is a guy that gets drafted super late, but always finds a way to sneak into the top 12. Like, he might have a couple really dog shit weeks. Like, that is possible, but he sneaks back in there. So I'm probably going to say Cousins, but Fitzpatrick's not too far behind.
And wings. My pizza and wings got here.
Oh,
Robbie,
we better hurry up. Robbie's getting hungry, y'all.
Right. All right. So Taylor Heineke is on the roster there. Showed some flashes towards the very end of the season and the playoffs. I'm going to say right now, I don't think he's got a ton of fantasy intrigue this coming year. But what are your thoughts for Taylor Heineke?
This is a guy that if anything happens to Fitzmagic, then grab him off the waiver wire, or like, and I'm talking like anything, like, we know that he could be benched. We know that he can be pulled at any moment. Like, we know the Fitzmagic story. So, I mean, with that being said, and with that being stated, I'm not going to waste a draft pick in the draft to grab him. But I think that, he can still do something. He has an amazing story from, getting drafted to Carolina and then doing the XFL thing. And then we all saw how that turned out. Vince McMahon, you played us all. But yeah, so, I mean, yeah, I'm excited. I'm excited for the future. He'll take over after Fitzmagic leaves, or either if we draft a guy this year, we'll see how it works out.
I'd agree with that. I think Taylor had a really good run. He stepped up when he needed to in that wild card game, and very admirably. He was a extremely competent quarterback for being just kind of tossed out there and say, oh, by the way, you get to go up against TB12. Like, here you go, buddy. Our playoff hopes rest on your shoulders. And you know what? He didn't back down. He stepped up to the challenge. Like, the kid has some charisma, so good for him. It'll be interesting to see how much of a quarterback competition it really is in the offseason, like the Bears claiming. There you go. So I agree with Robbie. I expect Ryan Fitzpatrick to be the starter. So Taylor Heineke doesn't hold instant fantasy value, but if something happens, he's absolutely a guy that you're going to want to add to your team if you're struggling for that second QB, or if you're just, if you have the roster space and you're trying to just block someone else out, grab him and stash him away and tell someone else to pay up if they need him.
Yep.
I'm really
I've been known to
curious.
do that plenty of times.
I'm really curious what the long-term solution there is in Washington, because we know that Fitzpatrick is a rental at best, is probably the best way to put it. I mean, he's not a long-term solution there, and I don't think that Heineke is a long-term solution there. So I'm really curious as to what Washington does long-term. For fantasy purposes, Heineke is nothing as far as I'm concerned.
Gardner Minshew.
That's an interesting thought. That is an interesting thought. It very well could happen. I just am not sure.
Yeah, I don't have a source on that. I'm just spitting.
That's fun.
I wouldn't be surprised. Minshew's going to be going somewhere, right? Trevor Lawrence is going to be the guy in Jacksonville, so maybe that's a situation that, hey, we know we have the rental. Let's get some younger guy in here who has a little bit of starting experience, has shown fairly decent, and see what we can do to continue to develop him.
There we go. Well, guys, any final thoughts for the listeners?
Draft day is coming upon us.
I cannot wait. It's going to be chaos.
You guys for listening, and I love each and every single.
Oh, crap, we got through the show. Robbie, we love you. I'm not sure. It's splitting out on us a little bit with the internet connection, and that's okay, but we appreciate you coming on. We love the Rumboyz Network. Props to you guys for everything that you do day in and day out and expanding the empire. So I think we got him coming back here real quick. If you want to plug your socials one more time so that way everyone can get a hold of you.
Please don't say that.
No, Robbie, can you
Does
hear
this
us?
count? Does this count as a mute? Does that mean we hit
No.
the
No,
over?
it's like the opposite of a mute. Oh,
that's a bummer. We lost him. So, Rumboyz Robbie is his Twitter handle, so you guys can get a hold of him there on Twitter. He's always available for DMs. Just check out the Rumboyz Network. They got tons of great content. There he is.
Hey!
I don't know what happened, to be honest.
And he's back.
Yeah,
We deal with it with Derek all the time, man. So don't worry about it.
man.
It's all good.
Yeah.
This is the
I
first
figured out the
episode in a
secret.
month that we
I
haven't
figured
had
out the
Derek drop
secret.
out.
Yeah,
Figured out the
what was
secret.
the secret? Because you have had just a crystal clear signal this whole
My
night.
secret is I have this fancy dancy router that I figured out how I can start pausing all the other stuff chewing up my bandwidth, and so paused everything else chewing up my bandwidth. So now I got the bandwidth capable of coming to y'all live.
So while Derek is doing his podcasting, nobody can do anything else. It is 1870 in Derek's household when he's
Bingo.
podcasting.
You're welcome. You are welcome.
But no, but I assume that you guys were signing out. Just Google us, Rumboyz spelled with the Z. Check us out on YouTube, Twitter, Instagram. I should be at this point well enough versed into the algorithm where if you type us in, you'll be able to gain access to us super quickly. Shout out my writing staff. Shout out to all our writers. Make sure that you guys download the SportsMe app. Love, peace, and chicken grease. And I'm out of here. Dilly.
Alrighty.
Dilly. Thanks, man.
Thanks,
Robbie, we appreciate you taking the time and coming on. It's always a blast and a pleasure to talk some fantasy football shop with you. So, guys, I do believe that's going to wrap up yet another episode of the Good Old Boys Fantasy Football Podcast. Make sure that you're hitting us up on our socials, Instagram, Twitter, Facebook, at Good Old Boys FF. We've got the website for you, goodoldboysff.com, and the YouTube channel for your pleasure as well. For Kevin and Alex, I'm Derek. Have a good one. Be safe.
Peace.